In December of 2015, myself and my family started the journey over the next 5 years of facing some of the most difficult and challenging seasons, decisions, heartbreak, and sorrow that we had ever walked through in our lives. Our 3-day-old baby boy, Grady, passed away from a complicated delivery. And then not even 3 years later, I was diagnosed with an aggressive and invasive form of breast cancer, and it was stage 3. These two events in our lives brought on so much fear, anxiety, unknowns, what ifs, to the thought where, in my brain, I was almost paralyzed. I was functioning day to day. I was able to put a smile on my face and get everything done, but inside I was internally paralyzed. Every thought, every decision I made, was it going to lead to life in my own life? Was it going to lead to, me getting to see that next basketball game with my kiddos? Was it going to mean I'm gonna be at my daughter and my son's wedding someday? And so I was plagued with just so much fear because death loomed over our life. The grief, the sorrow, the anguish from burying our sweet baby boy to wondering how many days I was going to have left on earth. And the only thing I had left to do was to go back to Jesus and the gospel. And I was on my knees and he met me. He met me in the darkest hours, the darkest minutes of the night, when I was so scared and plagued with fear, wondering what the future was gonna look like. And he met me. And I remember just praying and the Lord being so clear and so evident. And he said, no question is too big enough for me. Your anger is not big enough for me. And so I took it all to him. It felt like I was beating on his chest, like the chest of your father, saying, God, where are you? And he said, I'm right here. And he covered me and he covered my family with a peace that we had never known. And he started to breathe new life back into us. He took our sorrow and he turned it into peace because he showed us the kindness and the goodness of the gospel. Jesus had been my king ever since I could remember. I grew up in church. And so just as the sky was blue, Jesus was my savior. But I had questions. I wondered, I said, God, why do I believe what do I believe when these bad things, when death has plagued our family and our life, and I'm sick? And I realized I had built a theology on death and sickness from books, from movies, and from our world culture. And the Lord got a hold of me and got a hold of my heart and said, let me replace those lies that you have believed with truth and truth about me. And he took my inward mindset about living life here on earth and he changed it to a kingdom mindset, one that said, I have hope. I have hope in him because of the gospel and because of what Jesus did on the cross. And so, sorrow and peace, those two things, I thought they had to happen independently, but he brought my sorrow and he turned it into peace. And he showed me that in my greatest times of grief and suffering, when death felt so imminent, that he was there and that I could live with joy and hope and that he would provide peace that I couldn't even understand because of the gospel of Jesus Christ.